My partner and I converted 3 campervans here in the UK, and I'm an accountant, which means I tracked every pound we spent, every upgrade and every mistake we wouldn't repeat. So in this video, I'm going to break down the real costs of converting a van, what surprised me and what I would do or will do differently if and when I do it again. So watch this, especially if you're thinking about doing one yourself. More and more people in the UK are converting vans for travel, part-time living, or even as a side hustle to sell or rent out. And it's easy to see why. Van life is romantic, resourceful, and it gives you a sense of freedom most of us don't get from a 9 to 5. But what most videos don't tell you is what it actually costs to build one, and where the money really goes. Let me walk you through what I spent on my 3 van builds. These are real figures and totals. Every van was different, which means when you're doing this yourself, the figures will also be different. But this will give you a ballpark. Van number 1, we named him Pig. This was our first van. We were too excited and not very experienced, especially when it came to costs of everything, which is partly why I'm making this video. The base van purchase was £9,800. The cost of materials for conversion were £2,000. Total £11,800. Most of the parts were from places like B&Q, Amazon and eBay. We also got some professional help with fitting the extra windows. I'm still not ready to talk about what happened when we tried fitting it ourselves. The van had 2 solar panels and a full electric setup for fully off-grid capabilities, fixed bed and a kitchen with plumbing. Loads of storage, as you can see, and a bright interior design. The build took us 2 months and we managed to sold it for £16,500, making us a nice profit of £4,700. Van number 2, we named him Winnie. With our second build, we felt like pros. We spent weeks looking for the perfect base van. Believe it or not, there are a lot of shabby van sellers out there. We knew we wanted a van that's less than 10 years old, had less than 100k miles on the clock, and size L2H2, which is the mid-length that you can stand up in. All this ideally for less than £10,000. After a few weeks of looking, we found this. A Fiat Ducato 2017 with 55,000 miles on the clock for £8,000. The conversion cost us £2,500, which totals £10,500. With this project, we wanted to do a slightly different setup, but we also wanted to use our skills and experience from the previous build to speed up the whole process. We fixed the bed slightly differently this time, which resulted in more storage underneath. We added a swivel passenger seat with 2 more extra seats with storage within. Same solar and electric setup as before, with better insulation and more space in the middle. A real home on wheels. This project took us 6 weeks to build and we managed to sell it for £17,250, which means we walked away with respectable £6,850 profit. And lastly, van 3. We named him King. When your friend is an adventure queen, she needs her king. And so we made her one. This project was different because it was pretty much a tailored fit. My friend told me which features she likes and needs and what kind of color scheme she liked, and then just let me get on with it. Challenge accepted. Luckily, her and I have a very similar taste, and so this van was going to be a Scandi-style oasis of calm. The van cost us £10,000, completely worth it because this van was only 6 years old, with 50,000 miles on the clock, came with 12-month MOT and 6 months warranty. It was in a perfect shape too. Van purchase £10,000, conversion £2,000, total £12,000. The conversion costs was still £2,000 as it was with the other ones. In this case, we still made sure it's fully insulated and sound deadened with roof cladding and lighting. The electric setup came from a portable battery which she can use for the lights and charging pretty much anything she needs. The bed was the biggest cost because that was made to measure. We made a built-in kitchen and some useful features to make her time in the van more enjoyable and comfortable. This build took us between 4 to 6 weeks because of the long lead time for the bed, but I think it was worth it. We then sold it to my friend for £13,500, which made us a £1,500 profit. I should point out that when I mention cost and profit, I don't actually include the cost of labor, meaning my time and my partner's time on these builds is free. If you are planning to run a business, these costs should be included. For us, this is our hobby, and we prefer reinvesting our profits into future projects. Now let's move on to the unexpected side of these builds. The biggest surprises? It's not just the materials, it's the little things. Adhesives, tools, screws, time. And if you're not DIY inclined, labor adds up fast. As an accountant, I broke the costs into categories. Here's where most people spend the bulk of their conversion budget. Insulation and cladding. It's the first thing you do and it affects everything else. Electrical setup. Solar batteries, fuse boxes, this adds up quickly, especially off-grid setup. Bed and storage and build structure. Plywood, hinges, rails. Functional design is half the battle. Plumbing and water system. Water tanks, pipes, taps, pumps. Even for a simple sink, you'll want reliability. Finishing touches. Lights, textiles, curtains, cushions, the stuff that makes it feel like home. Each van taught me something different. If I was starting over today, here's what I would do differently. Buy the best base van I can afford. Rust repairs and MOT nightmares cost more than upgrades. Make sure you're buying from a reliable seller who can offer warranty. Stick to a layout early. Changing your mind halfway is expensive and frustrating. It adds friction in the process. Don't overspend on aesthetic Pinterest features. It looks great, but doesn't always add resale or usability. Whoever buys it will probably change it anyway. Get insurance quotes early. Some modifications, like gas or electrics, affect your premium and legality. You may also need to show your gas certificate to your buyer. I know I would want one. Keep receipts for everything. If you plan to sell or rent your van, you'll need this for tax and valuation. Additionally, please remember that you have to insure and tax your van while you're working on it. And what about parking permits? So, can you do this? Yes, you can do this. But it's not passive. It's not always cheap, and it's definitely not as easy as it looks on Instagram. But it is doable, and it can absolutely be a business or a lifestyle if you plan it well. As an accountant, I say treat your conversion like a project, with a budget, a backup plan, and the flexibility to adapt. And whether you build one for personal travel, to rent out, or to flip for profit, if you love learning, problem solving, and building things with your hands, van life might just be worth it. If you're thinking about converting your own campervan or turning it into a tiny business, I hope this helped to see what's possible. Subscribe for more small business case studies, DIY breakdowns, and honest finance advice from an accountant who's lived it. Got questions about van builds or budgeting? Drop them in the comments, I reply to all of them. And check the description for a downloadable van conversion budget tracker. Made by me, for real people who want to build smart.